let me share with you what I'll cover during this. During this 1 hour session, I'll be covering, be sharing some of the facts and numbers from URA and also EDB. And also I'll be covering on the most commonly talked about topic, which is COVID-19, how it has impacted the Singapore property market. And also whether a question in the minds of a lot of investors, a lot of buyers out there, whether there's an oversupply, should they wait? Or should they come into the market right now? So this is a question of many buyers. Okay, and also what's the outlook for the coming years for the Singapore property market, and I will end with a few key conclusions. Okay, after that, my colleague Gary, as what JY mentioned, my colleague Gary will share a little bit on a new project, a very exciting project in Bukit Timah, and then we will open the floor of the session to some Q&A, and then so we'll do this within 1 hour. Okay, so let's start. Okay, many people were expecting property prices to drop. I mean, from the day I've been entering the real estate market as an investor myself, and later on joining the real estate industry, I've been hearing this: oh, market will drop, prices will drop. I've been hearing this all the time. So likewise for last year, we were expecting prices to drop. I mean, everyone was expecting prices to drop. But what we saw in reality in 2019 was that, in spite of the very tough measures, cooling measures in 2018, where the government actually make the LTV tighter, and also we implemented the ABSD. Okay, so in spite of all these measures, the prices actually increased by 2.7%. Okay, which is quite a pleasant surprise. And then came COVID in December 19. So this has been the talk of the town, and it has actually affected a lot of lives around the world. So of course Singapore is no exception. Okay, we saw a lot of businesses being affected, especially in some sectors like the retail sector. We saw a lot of industries, a lot of sectors are very, very badly hit, and we see a lot of companies going bust, going bankrupt around the world as well. This is the GDP contraction is to worsen in Q2. This is based on MAS estimation. Okay, that for the full year growth, the revised forecast will be -4% to -1%. So this is revised from the earlier forecast, which was the -0.5% to 1.5%. So we're expecting things to go south, okay, in Q2, okay, and also in the coming months. So this is what we are expecting. But how is it impacting the property market? Let's see. Okay, so we saw here Q1 private home prices fall 1%, which is less than what we initially estimated. So actually, you can see that the property prices in Singapore is quite, I would say, resilient, quite resilient to we had the cooling measures, very strong cooling measures. We even have COVID and all that, but private property prices in Singapore are holding quite, I would say, quite firm. Okay, so we saw 1% fall in the price, which a lot of people were expecting. They were telling me, a lot of my friends and people in the trade were telling me that they were expecting prices to fall between 5 to 10%. So yeah, this is not the case. Okay, and a lot of the developers are actually right now trying to boost demand by cutting prices, okay, in new launches. About half of the developers, okay, are expected to cut prices for the new launches. Okay, so for those of you out there who are looking for a good buy, or in Hokkien we say "kill durian." Okay, but maybe okay. Anyway, for those of you who are looking to start looking for a good purchases, now is the time, because a lot of the developers are more I would say more 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 receptive. I would say more receptive to price adjustment. So we saw one project in 8 St. Thomas uh, by Bukit Sembawang. Okay, they also adjusted the price. They also had the price cut, okay, by as much as up to $500,000. So we saw a huge reaction in that project. So a lot of units were sold after the price cut. So for quarter two, Singapore quarter two private home prices. So again, I was saying this now, we were expecting prices to drop, but in, in spite of COVID, okay, in spite of COVID, we saw prices went up by 0.3%, okay, for quarter two, in spite of COVID. So, and yeah, so, and for first half of 2020, we saw about 3,800 units, new homes sold for the first half of 2020. And based on this latest sales numbers, we are expecting this year to close about 8,000 to 8,500 units for the whole year, which is quite an encouraging number given the current situation. Let me close this. Okay, sorry. This is blocking me. Let me close this. Okay. So yeah, so we for the month of June, we saw the number of units sold. We rebounded back to the pre-COVID period. So we actually, okay, COVID kicked in, the circuit breaker kicked in April 7, on April 7, okay, and we saw a huge drop in the volume from 660 the month before to 277 in the month of April. Okay, so yeah, we were expecting the volume to drop further for the month of May, as we were still in circuit breaker. However, to our surprise, the volume actually went up to 487 units. Is so because if you remember, during the month of May, no viewings were allowed. Okay, and the show flats were closed, and so on. But yet, people were buying. Okay, 487 units were transacted. People buying through Zoom, through videos, and so on. So, which is very encouraging. So, and as we know, in on June 19, that's when the opening up the phase 2. Okay, so we on June 19, the viewings were still not allowed, but people could eat out. People could eat outside. A lot of things that we couldn't do before, we were able to do. So it was some kind of it was a bit of opening up by the government. I mean, and we saw a very encouraging number of 998 units being sold for the month of June. This is almost back to the pre-COVID period, same volume as the pre-COVID period. So what is driving the demand for homes? Okay, why is property market in Singapore so resilient in spite of the cooling measures, in spite of COVID, okay, in spite of what's happening around the world? Why is Singapore property market so resilient? I think one of the key factors is the demand. Okay, and what's driving demand? A few things are driving the demand. One of it is population growth. You can see for the last okay, for the first few years, okay, we saw a huge rise in the population in terms of the population growth rate. Then after that, the rate of growth goes down. But in the last in the last 2-3 years, from 2017 to now, you see a sharp rise in the population growth. Okay, so there are people who are moving to Singapore, who have chosen Singapore as a place to reside on, okay, as a second home or as a permanent home. Okay, so that we've seen a sharp rise in the people moving to Singapore, okay, and staying here. So, okay, I think some of the reasons we probably guessed it, like what's happening around in the region, why some people are moving from some of the countries who are not doing as well, having some problems. They have chosen Singapore as a home. They're moving here. We also, the other thing that is driving demand is the changing demographics. Okay, you see, if you see here, the orange, okay, sorry, not the orange, the yellow one. You see, these are the people living alone. Okay, people living alone has increased from 139, almost 140,000 to 208,000. What does this mean? This means that more homes are needed, right? This means that more homes are needed. If you also look at the orange one, which is couples without children, also have increased from 157,000 to about 261,000. So this also means that there's a demand, there's a need for more housing. Owning a private property in Singapore has always been every Singaporean's dream. Okay, it's a lot of people who have a lot of young couples starting out in HDB flats, and I think for the foreigners who are here, I mean, maybe just to explain a little bit, for Singapore young couples, when they usually the first flat they buy usually is a HDB flat, which is a government flat, and then after because they enjoy some kind of subsidy from the government. Okay, so but they have to stay there for a minimum of 5 years. So after 5 years, a lot of them would like to uh, to sell and upgrade to a private residential property. This is a dream of every Singaporean. So you can see that in the last 9 years or so, the, the percentage of people owning private properties has increased quite significantly. Yeah, this is what I mentioned earlier. Okay, the young people are open to upgrading. Okay, when they reach the 5 MOP stands for minimum occupation period for our friends from Indonesia. So it means they have to stay there for minimum for 5 years before they can sell, because they get certain privileges for buying the government HDB properties. So they have to stay there for 5 years. And after 5 years, usually they are able to to have quite a good profit from selling property, and from the profit they upgrade to a private residential property. Okay, so these are people. So for the year 2020 alone, we are talking about 20,000 people, around 20,000 uh, units, flats, 20,000 flats who have reached MOP. What does that mean? It means that these people, a big portion of these people will be looking to upgrade to a bigger home and to private residential properties. So even for next year, we're talking about 21,000 people, of 21,000 units, 21,000 HDB flats that will reach MOP. And likewise for 2022. So there's always a pent up demand, a rising demand for private residential properties in Singapore. So besides the local buyers, the HDB upgraders and so on, we have also people moving to Singapore. People who have decided to make Singapore the home, they want to buy properties in Singapore. So we saw this is a mix of foreign buyers. Then in the year 2010, the Malaysians made up the bulk of the foreign buyers in Singapore. Okay, we see a shift in the mix. Okay, so in year 2019, we see a significant increase in the people coming from China buying properties in Singapore. And and for Indonesia, we know why. Okay, I mean, we all know our Indonesian friends here know better than me that for Indonesia we had you had this tax amnesty exercise I think a few years ago, where I think you had to declare your income to the government, so on. So that was that exercise actually had an impact of people moving money out from Indonesia. So that impacted of the percentage of Indonesians buying properties in Singapore. But having said that, we still have a good percentage, good 7% of Indonesians who are buying properties in Singapore, in spite of the additional buyer's stamp duty, okay, or in spite of the extra taxes or whatever. They still find it worth the investment to buy a property in Singapore and making Singapore their home. So here we see that the average demand for private homes in Singapore is about 13,700 units. Okay, this is a 5-year average. And what is interesting also, you see the gray line. If you see the gray line, that this is the occupancy rate. Okay, so that means the occupancy rate has also increased to about 94.5%. It meaning the percentage of empty units has gone down. Okay. So the occupancy rate has gone up, meaning it is either homeowners or tenants, but the occupancy rates have gone up, meaning the vacant units are getting less and less. On the other hand, the pipeline supply of private residential properties, okay, just now we saw that the demand was 13,700 units, right? The 5-year average, but the average pipeline supply of private residential properties in the next 5 years is only 10,000 units. What does that mean? It means that there will be an undersupply in the next 5 years. Okay, if you look at the this chart, okay, the average annual supply is about only 10,000 units for the next 5 years, but the demand, the annual demand, average demand is about 13,700 units, which means there is quite a significant undersupply for the next 5 years. So this one, I think this point I mentioned earlier as well, that the sales are recovering, okay, very fast. Sales only dropped 1 month for the month of April during the circuit breaker. Then it started to rise again for the month of May. And now, yes, within 2 months, they have reached back the pre-circuit breaker levels to about 900 over units. And we expect July to be about the same, to be about 900 plus units. Okay, this chart is actually talking about the uncompleted, unsold units. Okay, so it means units still under construction and unsold. That means still under construction and unsold by developers. It's gone down significantly from 43,000 units in sometime 2008 to only 27,000 now. I think Singapore also has one of the lowest mortgage rates, okay, in the region. So this is a 3-month SIBOR rate. This is a lending rate, okay, interbank offered rate. So it's gone down from about 2% to now about 0.5%. So which means the cost of borrowing has gone down significantly. So it makes it easier to finance your purchase for the private properties. And it's taking a loan in Singapore, the whole process is relatively easy as well. So, okay, so can you remember the different the crisis that has happened in our region for the last or in the past decade or past 2 decades, sorry. So we had the Asian financial crisis in 1999, which rebounded quickly, okay, in the following year. And then we had SARS, which lasted about 5 years. Then we had the global financial crisis and H1N1, okay, which lasted about four years. So as you see that each recovery is stronger than the previous one, okay. So for this COVID, will we see the same trend? Okay, this is a very interesting Chinese word. I mean, okay, because written in Chinese, okay, the word crisis, it means wei ji. For those who read Chinese, it means wei ji. Wei means danger. Ji means opportunity. So in every crisis, every bad situation, every danger, there always exists an opportunity. So the question is, are we ready for the opportunity? So this is some case studies of actually buyers buying during SARS. Okay, so these are just a few examples. There are a lot of examples, but I can't show you all in one chart. So these are some examples of case of people buying during the SARS period. The kind of profits they made when they made the decision to buy during SARS. Okay, so for Pierre Robinson, we saw over average period of 5 to 7 years, people are making more than $1 million from the properties in Pierre Robinson. And then with Gardens and Bishan, average about 14 years. Okay, so and so on. So these are just some examples of people who took the action, okay, took the step to take advantage of the situation. I shouldn't say take advantage of the situation, but to capitalize. Sorry, to capitalize on the opportunities that is presenting to them. Okay, so Singapore is known to be one of the most politically stable country in the world. Okay, we are ranked number 12 here according to the this index. Okay, Denmark's number 1, but we are number 1. We are first in Asia. Okay, Singapore also retains top spot as the world's most competitive economy. Okay, so we have seen this number year after year, and also the fundamentals are strong as we know. Okay, we are, in terms of risk for investment, Singapore ranks the lowest risk for investment. And Singapore government has actually spent a lot of money, as you can see here, $13.2 billion in terms of the digital transformation. Okay, there's also spending on investment in artificial intelligence, 500 million. So we are actually the whole country is going through a transformation, digital transformation, to prepare for the future. So I'm confident as a Singaporean that we are ready. We are ready for the future. So this comes my last slide, which is okay. So some of the key takeaways that I've shared a lot of numbers, a lot of okay. So but the 3 key takeaways which I would like to leave behind, which I'd like you to take away. Number 1 is that Singapore's property market has actually stayed very resilient in spite of what's happening around the world, in spite of COVID-19, in spite of the cooling measures. Okay, so why is that so? Because of the strong fundamentals of the country, and because of the growth in population. Okay, not generic growth. Okay, more of a foreigners coming to Singapore, to making Singapore their home. So that's which is pushing the demand in housing. And also, of course, we know that Singapore is one of the most political stable country in the region, or even in the world. And our lending rates, mortgage rates for housing is very low. So, and also a few other factors. So all these factors combined together to make Singapore property market very, very resilient, in spite of what's happening. So is there an oversupply? So you saw the answer, right? So there's definitely no oversupply. In fact, there is a situation of undersupply. So the case which will put pressure on prices to continue to rise. So with a mid to long term investment plan in mind, so I think a lot of people ask me as a real estate professional. A lot of my clients, a lot of my friends, a lot of my relatives, and so on ask me, "Hey Alex, can we buy now?" And I always tell them yes, because I mean, of course, you are talking about to buy now and make a huge profit in 2-3 years. Then I would say no, unlikely. But if you have a view of to make the investment a mid to long term investment, let's say 5 years, 10 years, kind of a view, mid to long term investment plan, then the best time is always to buy now. Don't wait, because we know that there's a situation of undersupply. You know that the prices will continue to rise, okay? And Singapore being a land scarce country, so so the cost of land will continue to be expensive, will continue to rise. So, and this will put pressure on the prices. Prices will definitely continue to rise. Okay, so my answer to them, to my friends, my relatives, and my clients is always yes. Now is the best time. Don't wait, because especially now that developers are more receptive, a lot of developers are cutting prices. So now is a good time to go out there and start looking. Okay. So with that, I end my presentation. I'll now hand back to our host, JY.
Yeah, so thank you very much, Alex, for sharing the insights of the real estate market in Singapore. I think he has explained in terms of the supply and demand, and moving forward, what are the real factors of demand and why Singapore real estate or Singaporean real estate is such an attractive proposition to investors, homeowners, and even people seeking capital preservation alternatives in the region. So without further ado, we shall bring on our next speaker. He is Gary Ng. He's our IC for Forex. It's one of the freehold developments along the Bukit Timah stretch. So Gary, over to you. I think he's actually at the show flat now.
Thank you, JY, for getting me in. And I heard Alex give a very awesome macro view of Singapore outlook. In fact, that is something that I'm very, very looking forward to, where the opportunity is here as well. So where will be the good opportunity? So that's where I come in for tonight to share with you. There is actually a nice environment back in Bukit Timah, which is in also one of our central region location. And this Flora at Bukit Timah is the latest hot launch in Singapore, which you can explore to invest your property or increase your property portfolio in Singapore. So in Bukit Timah itself, where Beauty World sits, and Flora is just about minutes walk away, you are very close by to this Beauty World MRT station, and you are essentially very well served by amenities as well. On this bigger location map, you can see that you are actually all nearby with the huge, large green and nature on our central Singapore, and also there are still some nature parks around us. In terms of accessibility and connectivity, you are very well connected by MRT, which is the blue line that you can see over here, which is what we call our downtown line. PIE is also right by. Within minutes, you are just on the highway and towards the all around Singapore. Besides that, we are also right near in 10 minutes drive to Jurong, where we our second CBD, as we all acclaim to be right very nearby proximity as well. So Central Region Bukit Timah is fantastic, very well established location in terms of amenities and convenience. So where are we looking at is there's actually new plans for this area. What you can see is government has already put on transformation plans to beautify and rejuvenate the beauty world area. That is very exciting and very welcoming to many of the home buyers out there, because why? With new plans, new transformations, that can only bring value, and that is really an upside potential in this location itself. And this is something that we all are looking forward to. In terms of this rejuvenation, we are essentially looking on this empty plot of land, which is going to be rejuvenated with an integrated transport hub. And what is actually an integrated transport hub? And that is by itself an MRT, bus interchange, and a shopping mall all integrated at one location. There is one artist's impression. This is just for you to have a visual aspect of it. It's not the final outcome of this integrated transport hub. Essentially, this land has already been out for tender, and it will be available and closed for sale by next year. And we are expecting it to come by in the very near future. And with integrated transport hub, it's going to bring more convenience and value to this vicinity. And that is where I'm coming from, where Flora at Bukit Timah is right nearby here, within minutes walk to this awesome new infrastructure that's going to come by. Right, so welcome to Flora at Bukit Timah, where this is our hottest freehold launch, freehold title, and which means to say you can hold it for generations to come, and also that you can have a title that is everlasting as well. Right, altogether there are 633 units, and there is essentially 2 shops in it as well. Right, there are various unit types available for you to explore. Right, 1+ study up to 5 bedrooms. In fact, for those investors out there, you can explore many of the various layouts right in Flora at Bukit Timah. Right, dual key units are also available. In fact, some of them who wish to have penthouses. Right, not all development has penthouses today, and over here you can explore penthouses as well. Well, Flora at Bukit Timah is really developed by acclaimed developers, which is Qingjian Realty and Perennial Real Estate, very established developers, right? So you are going to expect a very nice development when it comes complete, approximately about 2024, right? So why is it so highly anticipated? Because it's freehold. They are really freehold in Singapore is getting lesser and lesser because all the new lands are generally leasehold titles. So why choose a freehold? 6 reasons is all listed here. This is really limited and scarce. There's finite ownership, which is really infinite, right? You can actually call it a home for many generations as you continue to build your experience and home memories from yourself, for your children, and therefore many more to come. Being a long-term investment is also because freehold title is essentially there for good, unlike leasehold title where the tenure will actually runs down to 0. In fact, for freehold titles, there are lesser restrictions if you're talking about policies and regulations into context of it. We can explain to you more of it, right? It will, because of that, it will actually enhance and maintain better value over years and decades to come. Freehold title is very rare, and which is why we are sharing with you Flora at Bukit Timah. In fact, being so rare itself, it is even rare to have a huge land of it. All in all, if you look at this perspective, 360,000 square feet of land, freehold land, where Flora at Bukit Timah will build upon with 633 units. This is a splendid, a rare chance to come by where we want to recommend to you. In fact, in this photo itself, you can see that at the backdrop, it is where our nature are. So close by. It's going to be a nice living environment for you and your tenants if you're looking for investing. Just want to give you a little sneak peek of our show gallery. And in fact, in our show gallery, we have this landscape model right at this bottom right. There is a huge span of over 100 to close to 200 meters, if I can quote it, estimated. This heritage wall, it is something that is so naturally grown and is left behind from the older development of the en bloc, because Flora at Bukit Timah is actually an en bloc land before. Previously, it was called Good Luck Gardens. So developer actually retained this heritage wall, which is right on this perspective, and it's going to be right at the perimeter boundary of Flora at Bukit Timah. Beautiful it is, nature it is as well. A little sneak peek into our show unit. This is our 2-bedroom deluxe, 732 square feet with high ceilings. All in all, if you look at this ceiling height, 4.6 meters as high as that. And it is not just in living and dining room, it is also in the bedrooms. So come down and to our sales gallery, you can see the actual show unit, if you will. In fact, if you are living in Flora and Bukit Timah, you don't have to get very high floors because you do have a sky terrace. In fact, there is a Takoyaki Sky Lodge where you can book your functions and gathering. You can overlook the whole Bukit Timah Beauty World area at the Sky Garden. That is splendid. You can actually enjoy your family gatherings under the stars. We have just opened the sales gallery last weekend. And on the papers, it was reported that we are going to start from 1,800 per square foot. Well, because of this COVID-19, in fact, we did not open our doors to anybody who just walk in. It is all by appointment basis. And over the weekend, all the 250 appointment slots are fully taken up. It was such a huge turnout. Many of the buyers out there are so happy that they get to see Flora at Bukit Timah right before their eyes. So why? Why is it so that encourage and get them to come by? Because the price was so attractive as well. Well, on this chart, you see that the resale properties in the central region has already transacted above 1,008 per square foot, where in the previous article, you see is that this freehold new launch is starting from 1,800 per square foot. So if this is the new freehold from 1,800 per square foot, and you know that the resale properties in central region are also selling as high as 1,008, 1,009, 2,000. This is a very attractive entry price point for a new freehold development. What about our neighbors, immediate neighbors to Flora at Bukit Timah? They are all hitting 1,800 over per square foot as well. So would you be preferring a new freehold, new homes, or a resale properties that many has already lived in, yet paying the same price? So Flora and Bukit Timah has a value in it. But is this the right value? That's what we are always asking. I will share with you a little bit on the bigger part of central region. You see on this map itself, the gray shaded part is actually part of central region where we call it the rest of central region, the gray shaded area. There are some existing new properties for sale. And on the table itself, I'm showing you what has been transacted this year. Buyers have bought into these various properties from 1,800 over per square foot as well. And these are 99 years leasehold properties. Remember, Flora and Bukit Timah is a freehold property and the starting price from 1,008 per square foot as well. Isn't it a good steal for you to come and explore Flora at Bukit Timah? It is. That is why over the last weekend, where many of the buyers, over 200 groups of buyers who came to view Flora at Bukit Timah, they dropped their ballot tickets. is going to launch for sale next week. We still have 1 week to go on this weekend. I hope we can see you this weekend. Viewings are by appointment basis, and I hope you give a call to our Huttons associates to make the appointments in advance, right? I hope to see you soon at Flora at Bukit Timah Sales Gallery when you arrive here. Thank you very much. Right, JY, hand back to you.
Thank you very much, Gary. So I think Gary did give an overview of our new upcoming project. And this project is Flora at Bukit Timah. It's a freehold project, and it's located in a very premium area. So don't miss out on this opportunity. If you have interest or your friends who are interested, please approach your Huttons agent. Viewing is by appointment only. I think the actual launch itself will come in a couple of weeks. So stay tuned for more information and actually grab the chance, go down to the show flat now. One important thing about Flora at Bukit Timah, I think that Gary did mention, and I'd like to reiterate again, is that it's located near an integrated transport hub. So in terms of the transportation infrastructure, it is there. And what we see in modern economies is that the spillover effects of a good infrastructure is evidently present. So for at Bukit Timah, having the spillover effects of that transportation initiative and at the same time being attractively priced relative to other projects in the area. And do note, this is a brand new project, not a resale project. So it's a very so-called attractive proposition for investors and homeowners alike.